Hello there. I thought that I would run through sort of as comprehensive as I can a beginner DE video. Now I'm going to run through some razor recommendations and some technique and stuff like that. Um, I'm assuming you already have a razor, but there are a few types of razors that I think are really economical and they offer a lot of bang for the buck. Most of them are going to be vintage razors. Now, I don't include any adjustables in this because unless you get really lucky, most of the time, many of the thrift stores and stuff like that understand what an adjustable is and that it's worth a bit more. They're going to want money for it. And a lot of times they're going to want more money for it than it's worth. So, uh, I'm sticking to just standard D's. Most of them are Gillette. One of one of them that is really good, if you have a chance to find it, is a Gillette Super Speed. Now there are several different varieties. I'll just go through a few that I have. Uh, that's a flare tip. This is a 1954, and it's a Super Speed. The bottom opens up, the dial on the bottom turns, and they open up. You insert your razor in here, blade in here, and close it up and shave with it. This is a black handle Super Speed, fantastic razor. You also can run across a 40s Super Speed. These are all TTO or twist to open razors. Now, Gillette made a lot more than just that. Another one that's really good that a lot of guys shy away from because of the name is a Lady Gillette. Now this was designed for women. It has a long handle so they can reach and shave their legs and stuff like that. But it's an absolutely fantastic razor. It's basically one of those Super Speeds on a long handle, and it's wonderful. It comes in several different colors. Don't hesitate to purchase one of these if you find one. It's a fantastic razor. Don't worry about what anybody says about it being a lady razor. It's a fantastic razor, and I use it all the time. My father-in-law owned this razor. He was 96 when he passed and went through World War II, one of the toughest son of a guns I've ever known, and he didn't care what it was called either. So, you can also find what's called a new. It's what's called an open comb. If you see, it's got looks like it has teeth. This is a three-piece razor. That means that the razor comes apart. You unscrew the handle. You insert the blade there. Put the bottom cap back on and tighten her down and shave with it. That's a three-piece. You can also find something like a new deluxe. It's also a three-piece razor, and there are several different variations of the three-piece. This is a short comb, this is a long comb, and the comb refers to the teeth. And if you look, you can obviously see the difference in the two. But don't worry about that. If you see one of these, grab them. They're good razors. Even if they don't have, even if like this one, they don't even have anything but any plating on them left. Grab the sucker. It's a good razor. Another recommendation that I would make is a Gillette Tech. Now this is one with a Bakelite handle. It's a three-piece as well. Comes apart, just like all the others. Fantastic shaver. We're going to shave with a version of one of these tonight. You can find them in little travel things, but now these handles come off, and they sell aftermarket handles, or this handle here will work on this head. Any kind of Gillette pretty much that's a three-piece to handle or interchange most of the time. That's also a Tech, different year. And then for modern razors, what I would recommend is this. It's a Maggard from MaggardRazors.com. MR11. And it's an MR11 because that's the handle style. They have several 10 or 11 different handle styles. The head is all the same. Actually, you can choose from 2 or 3 different heads. This is the V3 head, and this is the one that I recommend for beginners. It's very similar to what used to be the recommended modern razor for beginners, DE89 from Edwin Jagger, or an R89 from Mueller. Basically the same head, same deal. This is a fantastic razor, well worth the money if you want to go modern. There's no reason, in my opinion, to spend any more money as a beginner or even as a serious shaver, a seasoned shaver, than these. These are fantastic. Stainless steel handle, wonderful razor, period. Now tonight, we're going to be shaving with what's known as a fat handle tech. Now this is a 3-piece. If you look at this razor, there's no plating left on it. It's all brass. Does not make a dime's worth of difference. You won't get brass poisoning or any of that stupid, it's not going to happen. But they are fantastic shavers, and I got this for like $6 or $8. And the only thing wrong with it is that it doesn't have any plating on it. It's absolutely perfect. Otherwise, I'll eventually have this one replated in chrome. But we're going to go ahead and load the razor blade in here. I'm going to show you how to do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move down. But first, I want to talk a little bit about soap. Now, I'm going to use tonight Ogallala Bay Rum. It's a hard puck of soap. It's fantastic. It's not difficult to lather. The other one that I would recommend to a newbie, you can find this in your grocery store and drugstores and all that, is Vanulay or Van der Hagen. Sorry, not Vanulay. That's an artisan, much better class of soap than this. But Van der Hagen Deluxe. It's a fantastic soap. It comes in a puck form, and you can, if you don't have a brush and stuff like that, you can get a kit that has this soap, a small lather bowl, or a bowl you can put your soap in to load your brush so that you can face lather. We'll be going over bowl lathering and face lathering tonight as well. I may have to stop and plug my laptop back up if the thing starts losing battery. It doesn't last very long, but you can find this for $2.50 at grocery stores, drugstores, all kinds. And it's a really good solid soap for a beginner to learn on. You can find a kit that has this and a boar brush, or this and a badger brush. I recommend that you get the one with the boar brush. The badger brush is a cheap pure badger, and it will be prickly and sticky on your face, and it won't have a lot of backbone, and you won't like it. I developed a liking for that particular type of brush among other brushes, but most people will tell you stay away from it, and I would tell a beginner the same thing. Stay away from the pure badgers. Get a boar instead, or a synthetic. But I would recommend you get a boar, a natural brush. The reason that I say is that natural hairs act differently than the synthetics. And synthetics lather really easily. And in my opinion, sometimes if you start with a synthetic, you will not learn to use anything but a synthetic. And when you try to go to a natural brush, you'll have such a hard time trying to lather your soap and stuff like that. Start with a natural hair like a boar, and then move to synthetic if you want to try one. Once you understand how to make lather consistently and correctly. That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. But these are my recommendations to a new wet shaver that wants to start DE shaving. Okay, so there's another soap out there that I would highly recommend for a beginner. They run between $7 and $10 for a container, and that is RazorRock. If you shop online, I recommend MaggoodRazors.com. They're my go-to. There are several others that there's absolutely nothing wrong with. We've got a wonderful vendors in this community, but I recommend Maggood. But anyway, there are other soaps out there, but the RazorRock really lathers really well. It's nice and slick. The lather's nice and cushiony, and they have wonderful scents, and they're $7 to $10 for a puck of soap or a container of soap. They're kind of a scrope or a soft soap. They're fantastic. They lather very easily. Highly recommend RazorRock if you want to go that route. But let's go ahead and move down, and I'll show you how to load a blade in the razor, and we'll talk about, well, no, let's go ahead. I'm having a hard time deciding what I need to do. So yeah, I need to move back down, then I'll move back up. And it's just, I don't have a cameraman, so deal with me. Bear with me. What I'm going to do, that's a scuttle. Same thing as a bowl, but it's made to keep, it has a reservoir with water in here to keep the lather warm. I'm going to recommend a bowl tonight, but let's move up here a bit. This is the razor we're going to go, and the blade that I'm using tonight is the Dorco ST300. Now, most people think that this blade is horrible. I get one good shade out of it, and that's enough for me right now. But most blades come packaged like this, and you open the blade up. Be very careful. Handle the blade like this, and it goes. Here's your top cap. You just slide it in like that. Handle it on the ends, not the edge. Your base cap. Now this is a 3-piece. Goes like that, and don't grab the razor, just sit it there. See how I've got my fingers like, let me move this. I've got them, they're not flat, they're not cupped, they're, okay, I'm contacting just the very top of that. And I'm going to tighten that down a bit. And normally what I'll do is I'll take a cloth, put it in my hand like this, and press down a bit. And tighten the razor till it's firmly tight. You don't need to crank down really hard on it. Just good and firmly tight, and that way I'm not going to cut myself. Now, with a 3-piece, twist to open. Handle it like that. With a twist to open, you just open the razor, pop it in just like that, and close it down. But we're going to use my Gillette Tech, the fat handle Tech I showed you. Alright. best way, in my opinion, to be nice and safe with one. Now, some of the modern razors, the maggot excluded from this. Some of the modern razors, you can see how the blade, that's called the blade gap. Some modern razors will load crooked, and you have to make sure that they're straight. That's why I don't recommend them. I recommend the maggot because I know that it has a really good tolerance, and it's not going to cause you any problems in that area. So anyway, as far as blades go, I would recommend that you buy a blade sampler from one of the vendors. Maggot sells several for $10 or $15, and experiment with blades till you find the one that works the best for your face. That's my opinion, because what I like, you might not like. What I hate, you might love. There's one other razor that I failed to mention. If you find one of these, this is a Schick Corona. It's a twist to open like the Gillette Super Speeds and stuff that I showed you. It looks a bit like the Black Handle Super Speed, but it's a lot longer handle and stuff like that. And it's a Schick. So this is a fantastic razor. You can find them for $8 or $10 in really good shape. They shave like a dream. So that's another thing to think of. Now, with brushes, I recommend a Boar brush. Now, Vanderhagen sells a kit. The people that make this soap, that comes with a brush, a Boar brush, and all that. I've talked about that before. This is a Semogue 1438. I've been soaking it a bit because I think boars would benefit from a bit of soaking. And I highly recommend this brush. You'll pay about $14 for it. And it'll last you, if you take care of it, it'll last you a lifetime. No problems. One thing about soaking a brush, especially a brush like this that has a wooden handle, don't put it in water where it'll go any further than this far up on the knot. Don't let this part of it get in the water, stuff like that. It's wood. It's not good at all. So don't soak it in the sink. Just fill the sink up and toss the brush in it or anything like that. Take care of your gear, okay? And I need to plug up this. Stand by for 1 second. Just give me a second. Sorry. But it's what it is. Now, how do I load a brush? What about the soap? How do I get it on my face? What's the deal? There are two ways to do this. You can face lather, which means you're actually loading a brush and then building lather on your face, or you can load a brush and then go to a separate bowl and build lather in the bowl. That's my preference, but I don't have a problem with either. Pick the one you think will be best for you. Try them out. Try them both out. See what you think. And I'm going to go with this. I'm probably going to end up splitting this video up. I don't know. Alright, so the first thing is face lather. So how do I load a brush? Let's move down and get started. To load a brush, what you're simply doing, now a lot of people will take and put a little bit of water on the top of their puck. Now, I've just got this in like a Anchor Hocking container because it fits the puck, and I bought it without a container. So A lot of people will put water on the top of their puck, a hard puck. I recommend that for beginners. I know that this lathers really easily, so that it's not an issue. Let me move this a little bit closer so maybe you can see a bit more. And what you're doing, you're going to take your brush, which is loaded. You see that water coming off of it? I'm going to shake it about 3 times so that it's still damp, but I don't have water ringing from it. And I'm going to take that brush and I'm going to run it across the top of the soap. Now, what I would say to you is that you're going to hear on the forums and on the Facebook and Google Plus pages and on a lot of YouTube videos and stuff like that, guys saying, well, I swirled my brush on the puck for 15 seconds and had enough lather to make 15 passes and all that kind of crap. Ignore that. You don't know what a loaded brush is like, and they do. Some of them. So what you want to do is load the living snot out of your brush. You want to keep, and you see how it's not really wet, it's just kind of, alright, well, I actually need just a little bit more water. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to the tip of my brush. You can do it like that, or you can start the water and go like that. Don't make any difference. But I want to add a little bit more water to that puck. And I want to keep loading a brush, because I've seen guys, they'll say, well, that's a loaded brush, guys. Look at that. That's a loaded brush. Well, yeah, this brush is loaded to me. But I didn't look at this brush to decide whether it was loaded. I can feel that this brush is loaded because I have lathered enough that I understand what a loaded brush feels like. And that's the only thing I can do, or only way that I can explain that to you. Let me move back up. That's the only way I know how to really explain that to you, and it's not going to help you a whole lot. And I'm just being honest. You're just going to have to do it enough times till you get it right. Consistently. I recommend you get one of these and you lather that in 2 or 3 sessions. Spend a couple hours at the sink lathering until that puck is gone and you've consistently learned how to lather and get a good lather out of a soap. That's what I recommend. That's what I did. There's no substitute for that. I can't sit here and teach you how to tell when your brush is loaded. It's going to take practice. Okay, so face lathering, what is it? Well, I've got a loaded brush. So what I'm going to do, I don't want to make the lather in a bowl. I want to make it on my face, so I'm going to put some hot water on my face, and I'm going to take this loaded brush, and if it flies off your brush, pick it up, put it back on your face. It's not that big a deal. But what I'm doing is I'm working the lather into my face. Or I'm working it on my face. That fell. I want it, so I picked it back up. I'm working the lather on my face and building it up. Now, for me, and you'll have to determine how you like your lather, but that lather's too thick and too dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get me some water, and I'm going to either pass that brush under the water like I showed you when I was loading it, or for me, I'm just going to reach over here in my scuttle where I know there's water, and I'm going to dip the tip of that brush in some water and add it to the lather. Now, this is why I don't like face lathering, because I am sloppy with it. And it flies all over the place. It gets all over my shirt and all that kind of deal. And I don't like it when it does that. So, besides, I get a more consistent lather out of a bowl for me. That's my technique. Okay. So I built up a good lather on my face. When I get ready to go for a second pass, I'll do the same thing again. And if I need more soap, I'll load more soap in my brush. But even this small brush will hold enough lather to do 2-3 passes on your face. Now, bowl lathering, what's that? Well, let me clean this off and I'll show you. All right, bowl lathering, what's up with that? All right, let's move down and we'll see. When you bowl lather, all you're doing is you're using some type of bowl. In this instance, I'm using a scuttle, but you could use a bowl like this or something from the kitchen that's the proper size. But you're going to fill your bowl with water. This is a scuttle. You'll understand what a scuttle is. It's basically just a bowl that has an inner bowl that you can put hot water in to help keep your lather warm. But anyway, I'm going to wet my bore because it's still damp from my face lather. And I'm going to take, you see, let's lift this up just a hair. Alright, I'm going to take, and I'm going to load my brush. Now I'm going to do just like I did when I face lathered. I'm going to load this brush. I'm going to keep loading this brush until I've got enough of a load in it that I think I can make a good lather with. And I'm not going to count to 15 or 30 or 60 or 100 or anything like that. I'm not worried. You're a beginner. Okay? Don't listen to these guys that say, well, I don't want to take too much time to load a brush. And you're a beginner. Learn how to load it, and then you can decide for yourself, because you'll know what a loaded brush feels like. Load the living snot out of that brush. Don't worry about how long it takes. You make sure you get plenty of soap in your brush. Now, when you pour that water out, what will happen is there'll be residual water left on the rim of the walls of your bowl, and it'll fall down. And they'll have a little bit of water in that bowl to make lather with. Now, this soap I probably should not have chosen for bowl lathering in a scuttle, because this soap I have found is kind of sensitive to heat, and it'll do what's known as dissipate if you get it too hot, which is a fancy way of saying that it'll fade and disappear on your face while you're shaving. Some soaps are more prone to that than others. This one, I have found with experience, is one of the few that I've run across that's fairly sensitive to that. And all you're doing is, instead of building that lather on your face like we did earlier, you're building it in the bowl. And you see that I'm adding just a little bit of water to the lather, because I think the lather's too thick. And I want it to be the right consistency for me. So I'm going to work that water into the lather until I can get the lather built the way I want it, and that should be good. So, there are a couple of different approaches. I'm sorry, let me start that over. Wet shaving, traditional wet shaving, is not about making one pass with a razor on your face and calling it done. That's what you've done for however long you've probably been shaving. Wet shaving is about beard reduction. So I'm going to make a series of passes and slowly remove my whiskers closer and closer to my face with each pass, because it's more comfortable than doing it all in one strike with a bunch of pressure and all of that. So normally what wet shavers do, and I'm working my lather a little bit as we talk because it'll sit there and if we talk too much it'll try to dissipate anyway. Normally you start out in wet shaving with 3 passes. And that's a with the grain pass, which goes north to south on a perfect face. And across the grain pass, which goes this way and that way, or this way and that way. Okay. And against the grain pass, which is south to north. Assuming that all your hairs grow this way. That's a perfect face. Mine go all over the place. My cheeks grow that way. So up and down are both cross grain passes for me. This way is actually against the grain on my cheeks. Okay, but this is against the grain on my neck, right here. But along these sides, my hair grows all over the place. And so that's not a with the grain, against grain, across the grain. Any way I do it, I'm just not going to find a set pattern there on that neck. And that's one of the things you need to understand. If you're going to wet shave, you need to understand how your beard grows. Look up beard mapping. There's plenty of videos that will help you to understand beard mapping. I believe Manic59 has one. That's a channel that you ought to be subscribed to. Okay, if you're a DE shaver, you need Manic59 is the Bible of DE shaving. Period. Okay, so I'm going to lather up and start my first pass. Now, I generally only do 2 passes, with the grain, a north to south and a south to north, which is basically 2 cross grain passes on my face and a little bit of buffing. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Lovely lather. But I don't have to build this lather on my face. I built it in the bowl. And so, but that's just, to me, I think that I can control my lather much better in a bowl than I can on my face. But that's a personal preference. So there's 2 things with DE shaving that are more important than anything else when it comes to how you use this razor. The first one is 0, 0, 0, 0, no flipping pressure. Let the blade, which is actually sharp compared to everything else you've used all your life, let the blade do the cutting. No pressure. If you use pressure, you're going to get razor burn, irritation, nicks and weepers, and razor bubble bumps, and all kind of stupid stuff. Don't use any pressure. The blade is sharp; it will cut. And the second and most important is involving technique is the angle that you shave, that this blade is held at, because this doesn't have a pivoting head. It doesn't follow the contours of your face. You have to make it do that. So you need to find the angle that this cuts the best at. In other words, the angle that you're going to hold this head at so that the edge of that blade hits your face at the right angle. And then you're going to have to maintain that over all the curves and contours on your face. How do you find that angle? Take the cap of the blade, or the cap of the razor, put it up here. I put it on my sideburn because I'm not shaving that. Put it up here and drop your hand. As soon as you drop your hand, by the way, you can hold the razor like this. You can hold it like this. You can hold it, just hold it in a comfortable way. I usually hold the shorter handle with something like this. So anyway, you're going to want to lay that against the side of your face, and you want to drop it down until you feel that blade begin to touch your skin. As soon as that blade touches your skin, that's the angle that that razor has to cut at. So you want to keep it. See how I blew my cheek out? Funny faces and contortions like that are necessary in traditional wet shaving. But you want to keep that angle. Now, that's pretty simple on the cheek because it's a flat surface. When you start getting here, you got a hollow. It goes down over your jaw, and you got a hollow there. So I'm going to have to keep that angle. That means that the handle's going to come down, then it's going to come back up again when I get into this hollow here. To maintain that angle. And you're not going to master that in 2 months or 30 days or 2 weeks. That's the single most difficult problem new wet shavers and even some veteran wet shavers have when they go, well, my razor won't cut me. They're not as exact with their angle as they think that they are. And that's key. If there was one thing that I could tell you, 2 things. No pressure, and don't zone out when you shave. You can relax and still pay attention to what the angle of this razor is against your face. Learn to constantly pay attention to the angle that this blade is contacting your face at. It'll pay dividends for the rest of your life. And fabulous, fabulous shaves. I don't get nicks, very many nicks. Sometimes I get them. I get more nicks than anything else. I don't hardly get any irritation. If I do get any irritation, it goes away in about 5 minutes because I watch pressure and I know the angle I'm shaving at. Very important. So, okay. And if I lose my angle, do this right here and go, hey, there it is. Surprise. And use kind of short strokes. Let's see. I'm going to draw my lip in to flatten this area here as much as I can. See how that razor, the handle is dropping? That's because I'm coming over that bulb of that chin and underneath my jawline. And if I kept it like that, it would not cut. I need it to keep that angle. That the razor cuts at, so I'm going to have to move that handle in such a way that it will shave me. Same here. I'm keeping that angle as I go over. You have to. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a second pass, but I'm going to do what everybody would call an across the grain pass. I'm going to rinse first. Some guys do, some guys don't. I use a washcloth to rinse. Some guys just stick their head in the sink and run some water in their hands and splash it on their face. Whatever works for you. If you use a washcloth, don't press down really hard and go like this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't scrub. You're just trying to softly and lightly get all the soap off your face and neck without scrubbing the snot out of it and irritating. Because you can do that too with a washcloth if you scrub it long enough. I'm going to make my second. I'm going to lather up again. And see, if you look, see how the lather's down on the bottom of that brush? Well, it's not now. It's on my face. And I can take it and spread it where it is that I want it to be on my face. Alright. Now across the grain, and you'll notice me sometimes I'll reach up like this. You don't really need it with a DE, but I'm a straight shaver as well. And so I will stretch my skin a lot of times. It doesn't hurt. But once again, you want that angle. That says, okay, that razor cuts. And you might go across the grain there. Now what I'm doing I don't recommend you do, but I know I have enough residual slickness in this soap that I can do it. That's called buffing. You can go back over with lather any spots that you miss. That's what I recommend for a beginner. Now if I wanted to do against the grain, then I would do that. You do it like that. But all the while you're keeping that angle. That's a proper angle and no pressure. Are the two keys to DE technique. Now I just did that. That would be an against the grain pass. I just kind of mixed them up because I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to do 3 passes. But that's an example of the different passes. Matter of fact, if I wanted to, and I wanted to go back over my chin, there, wonderful. And then what I do once I'm satisfied with my shave is I run cold water on that same towel and I rinse the last pass off with cold water. That just sort of helps soothe my skin a little bit too. I will do this and just let the cold water cool my face just a little bit for the next shave. Then I will dry my face. Some people say that You don't need to dry your face before you apply aftershaves. I think that what it does is form a barrier for the good stuff that's in the aftershave, and it makes it difficult for it to get into the skin. So that's why I dry. Decide for yourself. Aftershave. I recommend things like Aqua Velva Ice Blue. This is not the container it comes in. This is a glass jar I transferred it to. $4 or $5 at Wally World. Bernard Clubman, again, not the bottle that it comes in. If you have a Sally Beauty Supply, you can get a big 12.5 ounce bottle for like, I want to say like $10, $9, or $7 or $8, something like that. You can get a smaller bottle for $7 in most drugstores. Also, Gillette Cool Wave is a good aftershave. These are all alcohol-based aftershaves, which is a preference of mine. That's like $5, $6 at Walmart. We're going to use Bernard Clubman today. But I mean, that's the best I can do to try to explain to you the techniques for using a DE razor. Maybe I didn't need to do a full shave, but this is the best way I know is for you to see it in real time and understand it. So I hope that this helps you. If you're just starting DE shaving, I recommend once again that you give a look to Manic 59's videos, and I recommend you maintain the angle and the no pressure mantra, and your shaves are not going to be the greatest starting out. You're not going to get BBS the first couple weeks. If you do, you'll be lucky. You're going to get passable shaves that will pass in public, but you're not going to be rubbing your skin thinking of how soft and stubble free it is and stuff like that. It takes time to learn the techniques. Beginners get in trouble and come on the forum saying I'm getting irritation, I can't get BBS, and the more I try, the more it's just tearing my face up. Stop that. Perfect your technique, and all of that stuff will come all by itself. You won't have to strive for it. It'll come. You'll learn. When you learn how to use the razor properly, you learn to maintain the proper angle, you learn the no pressure kind of deal, you learn to make a decent lather, you learn whether alcohol or alcohol-free aftershaves are for you, and which ones your face likes, and all that stuff. And we haven't even gotten into pre-shave stuff, which I don't use, but some guys benefit to it. There's plenty of information on pre-shave here on YouTube if you want to find out about that. But the thing of it is look, there's a lot to learn and bury deep within your muscle memory learning this kind of shaving. You're not running a card over your face that does it all for you. It's the hand that guides the razor that's at fault. And when you get in trouble, it's your fault. It's not the razor's fault. It's not the blade's fault. If the blade's bad, get rid of it and put another one in it. Don't do crazy stuff with a bad blade. Find another one. That's your fault you didn't change the blade. I'm just saying, if you can't get a good shave and you got a good razor, it ain't the razor's fault. If you got a good blade, it ain't the blade's fault. If you can't make a lather and you don't have slickness or glide, it's not that soap's fault. If it's a good soap, you have to learn all these things. So don't push yourself. I know everybody hollers about BBS and they holler about how wonderful those shaves were. I get wonderful shaves now, but I've been doing DE shaving in a traditional way for 2 years, in the next day or two, on the 7th of this month. And this might not air till after that. But I've been doing that for 2 years, and I started in '78 with a DE and shaved with it for several years before I went to the electric razors and the cartridge razors and the disposable razors and all that stuff. So, I've got a bit of experience from back there as well, and I get good shaves, wonderful shaves now, but it took time for me to learn how to do it. It's going to take time for you to as well. Don't rush yourself and don't get frustrated. Just take your time and enjoy the experience, and all that will come. God bless you. I hope this has helped you. Welcome to Wet Shaving. It's a great ride. God bless you. Later.